hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, hip
Bars is back.
hip hop,
Sam
hip
and
hop,
oh God.
You know, and we had a strong relationship because I think he just bonded with me because how much he didn't like Leor, you know. And you know, I really wanted to speak about culture vultures too, though, you know, before we get away from that, you know, because I've had some interesting experiences. I was working with Dame Dash to publish his Culture Vulture book through my label. That didn't happen, but I worked for Leor. I've worked with Vlad. I knew Vlad, not that much work with Vlad, but I known him from way back and everything, you know. And for myself personally, like I have a harsher view on these kind of people than anyone because I don't want to be affiliated with them just because we're sharing the same skin tone. I feel like people like that are a really bad reflection on me. And I think Leroy's case is kind of complicated. Like I was talking to our dear friend Faison Love about this, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, he said, well, he went back to the Run DMC days and he was there as a fan, checking them out and everything. And I said, yeah, but I said, just because that means you're old and you have good taste too, in part. I mean, like, you know, like what did you do when you got the opportunity? Like when you got in the industry and you got the opportunity, what'd you do with it then? Did you help artists or did you get them into deals that helped you too? I'm not saying that you don't deserve to make money. Like people like me or we all gotta make money from working in the industry. Like I can't help artists if I can't make enough money from doing things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not cut and dry, you know what I mean? Now, Vlad, on the other hand, I got a real problem with, man. I'm a blast dude, man. Like, you know, I recently saw this video of his ex-employee. Have you guys seen that?
I saw a little bit of it.
I don't try to pay much attention to the dudes, to be honest with you, but I've seen what you're talking about, but I didn't watch it.
Man, is it damning. I mean, just like he was running a sweatshop in there, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, one thing too is like, obviously I'm not against Vlad because he's white. That's some self-hatred shit, you know what I mean? I don't like DJ Academics either. I mean, I think the way he exploited that whole Chicago, like keep track of the death thing and everything like that is pretty deplorable. You know what I mean? And his misogyny is through the roof and very, very unhealthy and not good, you know, to be for that, to have so much strong reach as his platform, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think Vlad, man, is like, it's really foul that he's made so much money off the culture. He didn't feel like, he felt so ego-driven, he didn't feel he had to apologize for misquoting someone who is so beloved by so many people as Mr. Farrakhan. And his overall method of questioning. I mean, you seen that Pee Wee Longway video that's going around now recently? Like, Vlad goes, a lot of blue in that video, That's a Crip thing. And Pee Wee just keeps playing it off like 3 times, you know, and then Vlad goes, good answer. People get mad at me for asking the questions, but, you know, you don't got to answer. Come on, man. Like, you know, like your target, you know, I think that's a really weak excuse. Like, you don't have to ask these probing, criminally indicting questions of people. You know what I mean? Because you know it's clickbait and it's going to get more views. You know what I mean? It's very, you know, I think it's inherently wrong. And I think he shows a lack of respect for the culture in a lot of ways. So I don't fuck with him. And I think guys like Leor that have made too much money off the industry and not, you know, like, you know, you're a white dude, you should be more sensitive to certain things, you know what I mean? And you should help artists. He's also done some good shit too. He's helped some artists, you know, build their own things out and everything like that too. So I think like with him is a little complicated, but my personal experience, they used me up. And you know, and the only other thing I will say about Leor in his defense too, or whatever, is that one thing you can't say is that whole time for most of his career, he had a black partner. Say what we want about dude too, you know what I mean? But like he was making a black man rich by all that like scandalous business practices they were doing against artists. So does that make it better? You know, not really to me, but you know.
I appreciate your perspective. I want to get back on Vlad if you don't mind, because
sure.
What you said was 100% true, and we've expressed those sentiments here on the platform. But the thing is, Black artists still support the platform. Black artists still feed the content. They see it, it's black and white, it's clear as day. You have some artists saying that what they said on there didn't incriminate them, even though been in court hearings, heard it coming out of people's mouths saying that they've used interviews and they've used social media to get some of these dudes and bring them down. Why do you think that the artists still, even though all of this is out, we're in this new age of revolution and the Black Renaissance and all this, that you think that people go and still feed that platform?
That's a good question, man. I think it goes to the clout chase era that we're in. I mean, he's got the numbers, man. So I mean, it's like, like Godfrey. Oh, dude, man, when Godfrey said on your show that white people are culture vultures by breathing because black men were the original man, I was like, because I'm supposed to do Lord Jamar's podcast. Lord Jamar, where you at? I was like, okay, I'm ready now. I was like, when he said that, I died when he said that. Man. But that was a bar. But I mean, a lot of artists, they care about money and numbers, and even though there are more artists getting conscious now and everything like that, that's kind of a newer thing, and some people are doing it as a fashion too. You know what I mean? Some people are jumping on the train real quick, and I mean, things like the election, and we've seen how lame cats are, man, recently. Like, how like that's why I like your guys' show, man. That's why I think you guys are one of the strongest platforms on hip hop on YouTube. Because you guys can talk about socially political things in hip hop together. Like, a lot of these guys can't speak on it, man. And these artists are out here like sticking their foot in their mouth right and left and saying dumb shit, showing how ignorant they are. Some artists, you know what I mean? Like, and there's been some great growth and positivity by other artists too. I don't expect everyone to, have all the knowledge or everything, depending where people come from and their exposure level and things too. But it's the cloud era, man. I think, look, you guys are doing the right thing. A lot of people did stop supporting Vlad recently, when Lord Jamar left and Godfrey left and stuff like that. So, just keep doing what you're doing and build a platform that can have, to grow to the point where you have as many views as him and make him irrelevant. You know what I mean? I think, but artists need to support you. They need to come on your channel. They do need to stop fucking with him and that kind of thing. And I just think, there's a lot of artists that aren't that conscious yet. So it could be slow, but I feel there's a movement against him. I feel it's strong. I don't really know what his numbers are like or whatever, but I feel like he's pretty universally being viewed as a culture vulture right now. And like, it's tarnishing his legacy, and his whole brand is built on his name. And so, for longevity's sake, I don't think it's a good look for him, Yeah,
that's a good point that you make. That is, it's Vlad TV. His name is like on that. A lot of people don't usually do that. They put a company up. But would you say, though, because a lot of people, will call him an FBI agent or he's working with police. Would you say that that's the case? Or do you think that he is mainly just looking for that shock moment headline to get out to the people? He really don't care about the artist. He's looking to make money. Would you say that?
Well, it's interesting because we do find that the culture of like people getting arrested and then turning informant is so huge behind the scenes. I mean, like Whitey Bulger. Like, if you read the Whitey Bulger book, it's just fascinating. You know what I mean? Like, so it's possible he got arrested doing some dumb shit, but we know he's greedy. That's apparent. You know what I mean? And I think it's a greed thing. I mean, I'm not one that goes often for like sometimes the conspiracy theory side of things per se, because there's so much right out in the open that you could see the greed and why people are doing things and things like that. Sometimes that extra element is just kind of like conjecture. Like, I don't think we have any evidence of that. Wouldn't blow my mind, because if he did get arrested of something, I'm sure he would like run to take a diving jump to tell on people to save his own soul. But since we don't have any evidence of that, I think that's more like, that's some good clickbait conjecture for YouTubers to put up there or people to say. And I also think there's also like a culture right now of people thinking everything's a conspiracy, which and there's a lot of foul shit go on. It's right in the open, and there is conspiracies that come out later. I study history, you know what I mean? So, but people getting a little carried away with that, I think, right now.
What do you think about people or Vlad himself kind of denying behind the scenes that his interviews are even being used to indict people? Because he might not say as much, but he'll post it up on his website, somebody else saying, oh, this interview didn't indict me. How do you feel about that aspect of it? Do you think that Vlad is covering himself now?
Yeah, I think that's his PR. I think, if people start to see more and more artists getting arrested from doing Vlad interviews, that can't be good PR for getting new artists to do interviews, right? You know what I mean? So I think that's his own PR machine. I mean, look, I haven't really worked with Vlad. I mean, very briefly back in the day, and I've known him for a long time, but I do have respect for what he built as a business.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. I have respect for Leo, because I have seen Vlad build that up from the very beginning. And he's had a lot of great content on there. The reason that Lord Jamar who I have an immense amount of respect for, one of my favorite rap groups, Brand Nubian, and just always really speaks, I think straightforward and says some great shit. He was doing this show for a long time and was cool with it because a lot of us enjoyed the content that Vlad was putting out there. He was obviously a fan of the culture. It was obviously, like actually into it. So when he has some of these people on here, he can ask some good questions too. And look, I'm not gonna lie, the dirt stuff is interesting. I follow, like I said, I think I discovered you guys from some Spider Lope thing. I was following the whole Faison Davies thing, and I'm gonna tell you, this is a hilarious sidebar, but because when I was bugging Faison to bug you guys to get me on the show, I was like, and I'm not dissing Davies because I love Davies as an artist, everything, but I live in Harlem Crip Hood and I've never seen Davies, that's for damn sure. But I'm not dissing him. That don't mean that he don't have his affiliation or anything like that. But I just wanted to clown Faison and be like, I ain't never seen it is a but yeah, that would be my answer to that, man. I think he's putting his PR out.
Culture Vulture and then white people being a guest in hip hop kind of go hand in hand. We've had a conversation about Eminem and other white rappers. Are they guests in hip hop? And when do they not become guests and become a household name within hip hop? Do you think that white people are a guest within the culture of hip hop? How do you feel about that?
I'm not mad at that analogy. I mean, I can see how some people might get offended or whatever, but I mean, like, if you study hip hop, I mean, this is a black art form. Also, many Afro-Latinos, or Latinos were involved from the very beginning as well. And there were white contributions almost from the beginning in certain aspects. But look at all the best rappers. I mean, what color are they? I mean, come on, man. Like, this is a black art form, like all the great American music, blues, R&B, you know what I mean? Like, so this is a black art form, and white people have been involved in different capacities as contributors since almost the beginning. I mean, like, when hip hop got out of the park jams, the funky Manhattan East Side art clubs were like the ones that were playing the real hip hop. At black clubs, it was probably more like dress code, and so there have been like white major contributions to the culture, things that Rick Rubin did, Scott Scorch. They're people, you know what I mean? But I mean, the sure percentages, numbers, I mean, and I don't care what color an artist is like when I'm listening to them, you know what I mean? It doesn't have any effect on me, but there's very few white rappers that I really think are great, you know what I mean? I think Eminem's very talented and he had a moment, but I don't know too many people that like roll around bumping Eminem. I certainly haven't for years or anything, and no disrespect to him, I mean, he's mad talented, but I think white people should understand their place. I mean, like Q-Tip said, like, you're cool, but don't prep the role. I mean, now there's so many white artists and so much of this like white college frat rap and all this like white culture of hip hop. It's easy to lose sight, I guess, for some people who grew up more recently and haven't been around as long or whatever, but study your history and know what you're involved in. And yeah, I mean, definitely, I would co-sign with that. I mean, if somebody disagreed, I could understand, and that's cool. But I don't know if I would personally say it, but I certainly wouldn't disagree with it.
Are you a guest in hip hop? I mean, you grew up in Crenshaw, for crying out loud. A lot of brothers ain't grow up in no motherfucking place like Crenshaw around the hip hop era. Somebody like you would obviously, I would feel like may take offense to a comment like that simply because you grew up in that. Like that was you. Have you ever been called a guest in hip hop, and how do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like you're a guest in hip hop?
It's a good question. I mean, I don't really feel like I am, but like I said, if Lord Jamar told me that, I wouldn't be offended. You know what I mean? Like I said, like growing up where I did had a huge influence on me. You know what I mean? And so it made me have a certain kind of respect for things and stuff too. You know what I mean? So I mean, like I said, I mean, there's so few white people that have been so important to the culture. I mean, there's more coming and more and this and that, but. But one thing is, like, I tell you, there's some brothers ready to fight you on my side for it, though. You know what I mean? Like, you see who referred me. You know what I mean? Like, I just had like a lot of black people that I've worked with or just know have always supported me because they felt I really am about the culture. You know what I mean? In the same way that they are, because I love it. I breathe it. I'm not. You know what I mean? My whole thing isn't to make money from it. I'm not. I'm about the art and supporting the art. And, I've also had a long history of working with a lot of like comedians. I produced like a Snaps album back in the day. I've worked with like, so black culture in general, mostly music, but some art. I worked with graffiti artists and street artists. And, so I don't consider myself that. wouldn't be super offended if somebody said it, but I got some dudes ready to, on my side, ready to back me up and disagree with you.
Word.